first we have Mallory, Zombek, Trevor, Krstic, and Iannarelli presenting on the Black Box Corporation.
Okay, we did the CFA Institute Research Challenge, and you guys are probably wondering what that is. It's a global competition of college students worldwide. It's located by the CFA Institute, and for those of you who don't know what the CFA Institute is, it's just a group of certified financial analysts who are really active in the community. So we entered this competition and we were assigned a publicly held company, and in our case we got Black Box Corporation. We had a whole list of things that we should have done or that we had to do for it, and then we had to write a written report, which ours ended up being like 12 pages, took us about 4 months to do, and then we presented downtown at the William Penn in front of a panel of judges. The reason why we did this was because we wanted to take what we learned in Professor Mechter's Investments 2 class and incorporate it into the real world. So I think that's the hardest thing, is taking stuff from class and actually incorporating it. So we learned a lot that way. We gained access with big financial leaders, and we also had, if we would have advanced, we would have had the opportunity to travel for free and went to Atlanta, Georgia.
So some of the schools that participated with us were the University of Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon, Penn State Behrend, Washington Jefferson, California University of Pennsylvania, Penn State University Park, and Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Out of all of those schools, we came in fourth, and this was our first year doing the competition, so overall, I feel like we did a decent job, and we got second with our paper. The rules of the challenge was it had to be 3 to 5 students, and there was only 1 team allowed per university. You had to be enrolled in school at the kickoff meeting, and it had to be the original work of our students. We could not contact the company at all whenever we got our challenge, but we were able to ask 5 questions towards the end of our competition. Mentors and our faculty could not contact the company either, and they weren't really allowed to provide us with any reports or that much help. Our faculty advisor had 10 hours and our industry advisor only had 6 hours with us. So they wanted us to have the most original work that we possibly could. And we had to agree to all of the code of ethics. The purpose of the project was to incorporate what we learned to the real world and give us a more in-depth look at what investments is like just outside of the class, like she said. So we actually had to look at the company on a more in-depth level, understand what their stock trends were, and look into the future as to whether we should buy, hold, or sell the company.
Okay, so as Mallory said, the ultimate goal was to come up with a buy, sell, or hold recommendation on Black Box. These are the main categories that we did research on to come up with our final recommendation. So first, you obviously want to get some basic information about the company, their ticker symbol, the stock it's traded on, what industry and sector it's in, which Black Box is in the technology sector and the network and communication devices industry. You want to write a business description also about what they do, what their purpose is, their management and governance, so who the top leaders of the company, how well the company has done under their leadership, the percentage of stock that the management owns in that company. Next we have industry overview and competitive positioning, so how the industry is doing as a whole, and how Black Box is also doing within their industry and their competitors, the strength of their brand. So one of the strengths we found is that they have a global presence. One of the weaknesses was they have a low market capitalization compared to their competitors. Valuation is another one. So we use multiple valuation models to come up with how much we think the stock is worth. We used free cash flow valuation. We did some relative equity valuations to compare it with its industry, such as price earnings, price to book, and some other ratios of that sort. We have financial analysis, so we looked at the company's financial reports. If we saw anything we didn't like, such as the negative earnings per share, we dug a little deeper to see why, and in their case, we found they had some goodwill to write off, so it was a non-recurring event, so we expected earnings per share to be positive in the future, so finding the sources of things like that. And finally, we have investment risks. So, risks of investing in the company. We looked at interest rate risk, their competition, what's going on in the industry. Foreign exchange rate risk was another, and there were a few more examples. And after doing all this research, we came up with the stock being worth around $21.17. So we gave Black Box a hold recommendation. And that is the summary of our project.
Where does the stock trade?
Well, sorry.
What's the trading range on Black Box?
What's the trade?
The range?
Yeah.
It's on NASDAQ, if that's what you're asking.
But I mean, you said you gave it a value of 21. What is the 52-week trading? Yeah, the price. The trading range on NASDAQ, for the year?
We can actually, I don't memorize it off the top of my head. We could actually pull it up though, if we had internet access. It's on our Google Drive, but
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
I wish I knew.
Okay, so I have another question. Whenever I've looked at Black Box over the years, it seems like they kind of go up and down, up and down, up and down. They're always changing management. The guy who's CEO, I think, was a CFO at one point. Did you get convicted about their mission and what they're doing?
Yeah.
So I was there for the kickoff meeting, and that was probably one of the first things that they brought up. And they basically talked about how this was a good thing, and that having him as the CFO now be the CEO was the change that they needed and the change in the right direction. So we just took it for that.
Okay.
Just because, there was a lot of movement, but throughout all the information that they provided us, that was the one thing that they wanted us to know. Yes.
Congratulations on your fourth place finish. You mentioned you came in fourth and you came in second in the paper. Can you tell us who won the competition?
Yeah, Pitt won the competition. Were they in first with the paper? Yeah, they were in first with the paper. What we had to do is we had to turn in a paper a week before our presentation. And then they evaluated our paper, and then they evaluated us on our presentation. So our presentation should have done better. But being our first year, it was a learning experience. We weren't really anticipating the questions that they were asking. They were very hard on us for that, which was a great thing because we didn't really know what to expect going into it. But overall, I think it was a really good learning experience. Yeah.
It's not very often that you get to interact with a company's upper management. So you said you got to ask them a couple questions. So can you just go in a little detail of how that worked? Did you get to sit down with them, or was that a conference call, or?
No, we actually had to send. We were allowed 5 questions. Each school was. We had to send our questions in. Dr. Mector sent our questions in to one of the guys from the CFA, and he sent it to Black Box, and then he answered them all through email. But we were able to get the answers to everyone else's questions throughout the different schools. So we didn't have any contact at all with the people from Black Box except for our initial meeting with them. But, yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there anything that you could do differently?
Yes. There's a lot I would do differently, actually. I would, well, whenever we practice our presentation, we have Dr. Marco come in and like kind of watch us to see our presentation skills overall. But next time I would have people actually ask us questions, maybe to prepare us for better questions. So like if we got all of the finance and accounting people, where they had a better idea of investment, so then that way we had a better idea of how to answer the questions, not just are we speaking correctly and stuff like that. So that I would change. And
In our presentation, it was limited whenever we got down there, and our report was so big that we didn't know like what specific information we should have put in our presentation. And I think a lot of schools that had the experience beforehand, they knew what to put in compared to us who just were like, I don't know what we should like.
Yeah, we only had we were allowed 10 minutes to present. So with a 12-page paper, 10 minutes was a really short time to kind of present all of the information that we had looked at over the years. So that was definitely an area.
And if you went over, like that was an automatic disqualification. And they said a lot of schools in the